Beloved chosen one. This moment does not arrive by accident, and your spirit knows it even before your mind finds the language to explain it. Something deep within you has been waiting for this confirmation, because for so long you have carried battles that nobody fully understood. You have smiled while pressure sat on your chest. You have kept moving while disappointment tried to drain the strength from your bones. You have prayed through nights that felt too quiet, and you have endured mornings when the weight of life seemed to return before you were even fully awake. Yet here you are, still standing, still breathing, still believing, even if belief sometimes looked like nothing more than refusing to quit. That is why heaven is speaking over you now with a sound of holy certainty. Congratulations, you have overcome, and the darkness is over. You need to hear those words slowly, because your soul has been trained by struggle to expect another blow, another delay, another reason to lower your expectations. But this is not that moment. This is the turning. This is the release after the strain. This is the place where the season that tried to bury you finally loses its grip. The darkness told you that your tears meant defeat. It lied. The darkness told you that the silence meant abandonment. It lied. The darkness told you that because the road was long, the promise must have expired. It lied again. What was actually happening was deeper than what your eyes could measure. You were being preserved in places where others would have collapsed. You were being shaped in hidden fire. You were being made steady, watchful, and strong enough to carry what is coming next. There were times when you wondered why life seemed harder for you than for the people around you. You watched others move easily while you fought for every inch of peace. You gave love and were misunderstood. You offered loyalty and met distance. You tried to explain your heart and still felt unseen. That kind of pain can make a person question their worth. But your worth was never decided by who failed to recognize you. Your value was sealed long before rejection ever touched your life. The pressure you felt did not prove weakness. It revealed calling. Darkness does not waste energy attacking what has no purpose. The resistance around you was often the clearest evidence that your life carries weight, meaning, and consequence in the spirit. Even now, as you listen, you may still feel the traces of that old exhaustion. You may still remember the conversations that broke your confidence, the delays that bruised your hope, the moments when you nearly gave up because you could not see a way through. But look at the truth in front of you. You are still here, not because it was easy, not because people always helped you, not because every prayer was answered quickly. You are here because grace kept you when your own strength ran low. You are here because God did not let the darkness finish what it started. You are here because your story was never meant to end in confusion, fear, or spiritual fatigue. You were marked to outlast the storm, and now the proof is written into your survival. This is why you cannot speak over yourself as if you are still trapped in the same night. You are not where you were. You are not who you were. Something has shifted in you through all that pressure. You have become more discerning, more anchored, more aware of what truly matters. The pain that was supposed to harden your heart has instead deepened your sight. You recognize false peace more quickly now. You sense danger sooner. You guard your energy with greater wisdom. You value what is holy, what is clean, what is real. That is not loss. That is growth purchased through costly endurance. And because you endured, a new authority is rising in the way you carry yourself. So let this message settle over you like morning light after a brutal night. The chapter of constant suffocation is ending. The cycle of carrying everything alone is breaking. The voice of despair does not get the final word over your life. Heaven does, and heaven is not whispering shame to you. Heaven is not replaying your failures to keep you small. Heaven is announcing that what tried to crush you has reached its limit. The darkness is over. Its intimidation is over. Its claim over your mind is over. Its right to define your future is over. You are stepping into a clearer place. And though the path ahead may still require courage, it will no longer be ruled by the same shadow that followed you before. Take this in with reverence. This is not coincidence. This is divine intervention. You are being reminded in this exact moment that survival was not your final assignment. Victory is, restoration is, peace is. And because agreement matters, because words spoken in faith can mark a turning point in the heart, comment 999 as your sign that you receive this victory and refuse to bow to the old darkness anymore. Now breathe again. Let your shoulders loosen. Let your spirit come out of hiding. Let hope return without apology. What you survived was real, but it was not greater than the hand that kept you. What opposed you was fierce, but it was not final. From this point forward, you must begin to see yourself as someone who has come through the fire carrying proof of divine preservation. You are not a victim of the night. You are the witness of its ending. And this ending is not small. It is sacred. It is decisive. It is the beginning of a life no longer led by fear, but by the quiet, unshakable knowledge that God has brought you through and will now lead you into the light. And as that light begins to settle over your life, you start to understand that the pain you carried was never wasted, because heaven has always known how to turn hidden suffering into holy strength. There are battles that happen in public, where everyone can see the conflict and measure the struggle. And then there are battles that unfold in silence, where only God sees the tears, the restraint, the lonely prayers, and the way you keep going when nobody is clapping for you. That is the kind of place where many chosen ones are formed. You are not being forgotten in those hidden rooms. You are being shaped there. You are being refined there. What looked like delay was often divine preparation, because some victories can only be trusted to souls that have learned how to endure the dark without losing their reverence. That is why your story carries an echo of David. Before crowns, before songs, before public honor, he was the overlooked one in the field. He was not placed where human eyes would naturally search for greatness. He was left with sheep, with solitude, with long stretches of ordinary-looking obedience. Yet those quiet fields were not empty. They were training grounds, while others measured position by visibility. God was measuring the heart. While others overlooked him, heaven watched him closely. And that is where your spirit can recognize something deeply familiar, because you also know what it is to be present and still unseen, to be faithful without immediate reward, to keep your heart clean while life feels painfully unfair. David did not become strong the day the giant appeared. He became strong in the days nobody celebrated, when he defended what was entrusted to him and learned that courage is often born where no audience exists. That is how many of your deepest strengths were built, not in the moments where everybody noticed you, but in the private moments where you had to keep your faith alive with no clear sign that anything was changing. In those hours, something solid was forming in you. Discernment was forming. Patience was forming. Inner stamina was forming. The ability to hear God above the noise was forming. You were becoming the kind of person who could stand in front of pressure without surrendering your identity. And maybe that is why this message reaches you so deeply right now. Because some part of you has been wondering whether all that hidden endurance meant anything at all. It did. Every act of restraint mattered. Every time you chose prayer over panic mattered. Every time you stayed gentle when bitterness invited you mattered. Every time you got up again after disappointment mattered. Heaven does not lose record of those things. God is not careless with obedience. What was built in secret becomes strength in the open, and what is forged in lonely places becomes the very thing that carries you through visible battles later on. So when you think about David in those fields, do not imagine a man abandoned. Imagine a man being prepared. And when you think about your own hidden seasons, do not call them empty too quickly. Some of the holiest work of your life has happened where no one could admire it. Some of the purest victory has been the victory of not becoming cold, not becoming cruel, not becoming hopeless after everything that tried to break your spirit. You remained. You kept listening. You kept believing, even if your belief trembled. That matters more than you know. This is why the darkness is losing its case against you. It tried to use isolation as proof that you were forsaken. But your hidden place was never punishment. It was preparation. It tried to tell you that being overlooked meant being unchosen. But the pattern of God has always defied human rankings. The one in the field was seen. The one in the quiet place was being made ready. The one carrying oil in the Spirit did not need the world's applause to be marked by heaven. And neither do you. So do not despise your process now that the light is returning. Honor what God built in you there. Honor the prayers you prayed when no answer seemed near. Honor the nights you survived by grace alone. Honor the quiet maturity that came from having no choice but to lean on God more deeply. Those were not empty chapters. Those were sacred rooms of construction. And the strength rising in you today is proof. And as this message strengthens you, let it travel farther than your own life. Gently like this message, share it with someone whose spirit needs hope. Subscribe if this voice is helping you stay anchored, and if you want to support this work in a practical way, there is a way to donate in the description. Sometimes one act of encouragement becomes the very light that reaches another hidden heart before it gives up. You are coming out of the field now with more than survival. You are carrying clarity. You are carrying steadiness. You are carrying the evidence that God can build greatness in places the world ignores. And that is why your next step will not be rooted in desperation, but in quiet confidence. The same God who watched David in the solitude has watched you in yours. And what he has been shaping in secret is about to matter more than ever. Now the hidden strength that was formed in silence begins to reveal what it was always preparing you for. Because there comes a moment when what lived in the field must step into the open. And that is exactly what happened in David's story. The same young man who learned obedience in lonely places was suddenly standing before a threat that had terrified an entire army. Goliath was not only a giant of flesh and armor. He was a voice of intimidation. He was the embodiment of fear repeated so many times that people started treating it like truth. Day after day he spoke, and day after day trained men stepped back. That is how darkness often works in a human life. It repeats itself until people accept it as permanent. It shouts until hope grows quiet. It makes itself look so large that faith feels unreasonable. But the power of God has never depended on the size of the thing standing against you. This is why David matters so deeply here. Because when he arrived at the battlefield, he saw the same giant everyone else saw. Yet he did not interpret the moment the same way. Others saw an impossible enemy. David saw an uncircumcised challenger defying the living God. Others measured weapons, height, and human advantage. David measured covenant. Others were already imagining defeat before the battle began. David remembered who God had been to him in the private places, And that is the shift happening in you now. You are no longer looking at the darkness through the lens of exhaustion alone. You are beginning to look at it through the memory of God's faithfulness. You are remembering what kept you through nights you thought would break you. You are remembering prayers that held you together when your emotions could not. You are remembering that what preserved you then will not fail you now. David's courage did not come from pretending the giant was small. It came from knowing that God was greater. That distinction matters. Faith is not denial. Faith is holy vision. Faith does not lie about the battle. It simply refuses to let the battle define the outcome before God has spoken. So when David said, "The battle is the Lord's," from 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 47, he was not speaking poetry to comfort himself. He was declaring the deepest reality in the middle of visible danger. He knew that victory does not begin in the hand. It begins in the spirit. It begins in agreement with heaven before the first stone is ever released. You have lived through your own version of that battlefield. Maybe the giant in your life was fear. Maybe it was rejection that seemed to follow you from season to season. Maybe it was grief. Maybe it was confusion. Maybe it was spiritual heaviness that tried to sit on your mind and convince you that freedom was for other people, but not for you. And for a while it may have looked as if that force had the final word. It may have looked as if the intimidation would keep ruling the atmosphere around you. Yet what darkness did not understand was that your private history with God was creating a confidence it could not read. The lion and the bear in David's past were not random stories. They were evidence. They were reminders. They were proof that what looked impossible now would not be the first impossible thing God had carried him through. That is how chains begin to break in a chosen life. They do not always break with noise first. They often break with revelation. They break the moment you stop bowing inwardly to the voice that has been mocking your future. They break when you recognize that intimidation is not authority. They break when you stop calling your giant permanent. They break when the memory of God's hand becomes more convincing than the memory of your pain. David ran toward the battle because he had already settled the deeper issue in his heart. He was not asking whether God was enough. He knew. And because he knew, fear could no longer govern his steps. That is what is changing in you. The darkness that once drained your energy is losing its power to name your future. The thing that tried to make you retreat is now being exposed as something that can fall. And the fall matters. Not only because it removes a threat, but because it restores movement to everyone who had been paralyzed by it. When David stood up, an entire atmosphere changed. When your fear begins to break, when your chain begins to snap, when your spirit rises out of intimidation, the air around your life changes too. What once looked blocked begins to open. What once felt impossible begins to loosen. Strength returns, vision returns, breath returns. So do not underestimate this moment. The giant is not winning because it is loud. The darkness is not reigning because it is familiar. What has been towering over you can come down. What has spoken against you can be silenced. What has stalked your peace can lose its place. You are not standing at the mercy of the shadow anymore. You are standing at the threshold of deliverance, and the same God who trained David in secret is teaching your hands and steadying your heart now. The battle that once looked like the end of your story is becoming the place where your freedom is made unmistakable. And when this giant falls, it will not only mark the end of intimidation, it will mark the beginning of a new way of walking, where you no longer move like someone chased by darkness, but like someone who has seen it fall. At the beginning of this new stretch of your journey, there is also one practical tool some listeners may find helpful if they want support with focus. Mental clarity and calm daily rhythm. It is presented as the Genius Wave or Genius Song, a short audio-based program built around brainwave entrainment, using sounds such as binaural beats and isochronic tones, and it is described as something people use for a few minutes each day to help with concentration, creativity, memory support, stress relief, and a clearer state of mind. If that sounds relevant to your season, you can look for the official information in the description or the pinned comment, and if you ever decide to try it, be careful with imitations and use only the official source. But beyond every tool, every routine, and every outward support, what matters most in this moment is the inner shift that God is producing in you. Because the real turning in your life is not merely about managing pressure better. It is about becoming someone who no longer agrees with the darkness that once tried to define your future. That is the deeper victory now rising inside you. The pressure may have taught you many lessons, but it does not get to name you. The delay may have tested your patience, but it does not get to write your destiny. The fear may have visited your thoughts, but it does not get the final authority over your mind. This is where the tables begin to turn in a way that you can actually feel. Not because every problem disappears in a single instant, but because the atmosphere within you is changing. You are no longer standing in the same posture of inward defeat. You are no longer absorbing every blow as though it is proof that you have been abandoned. Something steadier is growing in you now. Something cleaner, something more anchored. You are beginning to understand that when God carries a chosen one through deep waters, He is not only rescuing them from drowning, He is teaching them how to walk with a confidence that water can never steal again. There were people who misread your quietness as weakness. There were seasons that tried to convince you that your gentleness would be your undoing. There were pressures that hoped constant weariness would eventually drain the light out of you. But the opposite is happening. The very places where you were supposed to collapse are becoming the evidence that you are upheld by something greater than human stamina. This is why the darkness around you is losing ground. It expected agreement. It expected surrender. It expected you to call yourself finished before heaven had spoken. Yet you are still here. And more than that, you are becoming clear. Clarity is powerful. When confusion ruled your emotions, everything felt heavier. When every voice around you seemed to pull your attention in a different direction, it was easy to lose touch with your center. But now a holier order is returning. You can feel what belongs and what does not. You can sense what drains you and what strengthens you. You can recognize what is sent to distract you from your path and what is actually nourishing your spirit. That kind of discernment is not small. It is part of your restoration. It is part of the way God protects you from returning to cycles that once exhausted your soul. And as this clarity grows, justice begins to move in quieter but unmistakable ways. Some things do not need your retaliation. Some battles do not need your constant explaining. Some oppositions lose strength simply because God removes your need to wrestle with them at the old level. What once consumed your thoughts starts to look smaller. What once stirred anxiety starts to lose its hold. What once blocked your peace begins to shift out of the way. This is not passivity, it is spiritual repositioning. You are learning that not every war is won by more noise. Some are won by standing so firmly in truth that lies can no longer find a place to land. That is why you must not mistake this calmer season for weakness. Peace can look quiet, but it is often the strongest thing in the room. A settled spirit sees farther than a frantic one. A heart anchored in God cannot be manipulated as easily by fear, urgency, or emotional pressure. You are being led out of reaction and into authority. That means you no longer have to chase every answer. defend yourself to every critic, or prove your worth to those who are committed to misunderstanding you. Your life is being reordered by a higher hand, and with that reordering comes release. Old heaviness begins to lift. Old labels begin to fall away. Old expectations that kept you small begin to crack. You start making decisions from peace instead of panic. You start protecting your attention with greater wisdom. You stop handing sacred energy to things that only exist to scatter you. This is how a chosen one rises after a dark season. Not by pretending the night never happened, but by carrying from it a sharper understanding of what is holy, what is necessary, and what can no longer come with you. So as this chapter continues to open, let yourself receive the truth without resistance. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are not trapped in the old pressure. The darkness is over, and what follows that ending is not emptiness. It is order. It is healing. It is restored sight. It is the quiet but undeniable return of strength. The path in front of you is being cleared one layer at a time, and as you walk it, you will notice that what once tried to overpower you no longer has the same voice, the same size, or the same permission in your life. You are moving forward now under a different covering, with a different awareness, and with a peace that has been tested enough to become real. And now you begin to feel what happens when a soul stops merely surviving and starts standing in its true identity. This is the part of the journey where you no longer move as someone waiting for permission to exist. You no longer shrink so others can remain comfortable. You no longer carry the old belief that your calling must stay hidden in order to stay safe. A chosen life cannot remain buried forever. There comes a moment when the strength God built in secret starts to show itself in the way you speak, the way you decide, the way you endure, and the way you refuse to return to places that once wounded your spirit. That moment is opening over you now. You have already seen what darkness does. You know how confusion drains the mind. You know how delay can test the heart. You know how rejection can try to make a person question everything. But now you are learning what happens when light becomes stronger than memory. You are learning what it means to wake up with more peace than fear. You are learning what it feels like when your mind is no longer pulled in 10 directions by anxiety. You are learning that healing is not only the absence of pain, it is the return of authority. It is the restoration of your inner posture. It is the quiet realization that your life belongs to God and therefore cannot be ruled forever by chaos. This is where purpose starts to feel less like a distant idea and more like a living fire within you. Purpose is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the deep conviction that you must not betray who God made you to be. Sometimes it is the courage to say no to what weakens your spirit. Sometimes it is the discipline to keep walking even when applause is absent. And sometimes it is the humble but powerful choice to trust that your steps matter, even when the full map is still hidden. That is where many chosen ones stand before their next elevation, not in total understanding, but in total surrender. And surrender is not defeat, it is alignment. It is the ending of inner warfare against the will of God. It is the place where striving begins to loosen and obedience becomes clear. You are not being asked to become someone else. You are being called to fully become who heaven already knows you are. The real power in this season is not borrowed personality or forced confidence. It is truth. It is the solid awareness that you have come through too much to go back to doubting your value. It is the refusal to let pain educate you more deeply than God does. That is why your voice matters now. Not because you must become louder than everyone else, but because silence is no longer the right container for everything God has placed in you. There are words you must speak. There are boundaries you must keep. There are decisions you must make without apology. There are doors you must walk through even if your hands tremble at first. Strength is not the absence of trembling. Strength is continuing in obedience while your heart learns the size of the grace upon you. This is also the season to remember that power and peace belong together. You do not need to become harsh in order to become strong. You do not need to become cold in order to become wise. You do not need to become proud in order to carry authority. The Spirit of God does not build greatness by hollowing out the heart. He builds greatness by making the heart steady. That steadiness is coming over you now. You are not as easily shaken. You are not as quickly deceived. You are not as vulnerable to every wave of emotional pressure. What once pulled you out of position now meets a spirit that has learned to remain. And this is why the promise speaks so clearly in Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. That verse does not speak to someone still defined by the dust. It speaks to someone called to rise from it. It speaks to someone whose light is not self-manufactured but heaven-given. It speaks to someone entering a season where what God placed within them can no longer remain covered by the old night. You are not being asked whether you feel ready enough by human standards. You are being called to rise because the light has already come. So receive this with both humility and boldness. Your identity is not fragile. Your assignment is not imaginary. Your future is not at the mercy of the voices that misunderstood you. God has carried you too far for your life to end in smallness. This is the hour to walk with greater clarity, greater discipline, and greater confidence in what has been entrusted to you. Let your habits reflect who you are becoming. Let your boundaries reflect what you now honor. Let your peace reflect what you no longer fear. And let your obedience reflect the truth that your life has been claimed by something holy. If this witness agrees with your spirit, comment I rise. You are stepping into a stronger way of living now. Not rushed, not forced, not artificial. Stronger because it is rooted. Stronger because it has been tested. Stronger because it does not depend on perfect circumstances to remain standing. What God is building in you is not temporary momentum. It is durable character. It is spiritual weight. It is the kind of inner formation that allows a person to carry influence without losing their soul. And that is why this season matters so much. You are not merely recovering from darkness. You are becoming the kind of person who can walk in light and help others believe in it again. And this is where the victory becomes more than a moment of relief. It becomes a way of walking. It becomes the new atmosphere around your life. You are no longer standing at the edge of breakthrough, wondering whether the darkness will return and swallow everything again. You are stepping into a steadier place, a place where peace does not feel borrowed for a single day, but planted deep enough to remain. That is what makes this closing part so sacred. You are not just leaving behind a hard season. You are crossing into a new relationship with your own future. The fear that once tried to narrate your next chapter is losing its voice. And in its place comes a calmer certainty that God has not brought you this far to let you drift without purpose. You can feel it now in the way your spirit responds to pressure. What once would have sent you into inward panic does not command you in the same way anymore. What once would have made you doubt yourself immediately now meets a stronger center within you. This is not because you suddenly became untouched by life. It is because the fire purified something. The night taught you something. The long road drew you closer to what is eternal and less dependent on what is shifting around you. You have learned that peace is not the absence of challenge. Peace is the presence of God within challenge. And once you know that deeply, you begin to live differently. That is why your future carries more than personal comfort. It carries witness. There are people who will look at your life and see what it means to survive darkness without becoming darkness. They will see what it means to come through betrayal and still remain sincere. They will see what it means to endure delay and still remain faithful. They will see what it means to be pressed and not destroyed. Your healing will preach, your steadiness will speak, your restored joy will tell a story that words alone could never fully explain. This is how legacy begins, not only in public achievements, but in the spiritual atmosphere your life creates wherever you go. So as you move forward from here, do not treat your peace lightly. Guard it, honor it, build around it. Protect the things that keep your spirit clear. Return often to what strengthens your inner life. Be careful what you allow to sit in your mind for too long. Be careful with voices that feed confusion and drain your strength. Be careful with the old habits that want to pull you back into survival mode. You are not called to live there anymore. You are being taught to live from wholeness, from discernment, from quiet power. That is part of your crown now. Not noise, not performance, deep-rooted peace. And in this moment, let prayer rise naturally from that place. Father, thank you for the one listening right now. Thank you that you saw every hidden battle, every silent tear, every weary morning, and every night when they held on by faith alone. Thank you that the darkness did not win. Thank you that what was meant to break them has instead revealed your keeping power. Cover them now with peace that stays. Restore every place that has been worn thin by pressure. Heal what has been bruised by rejection. Strengthen what has grown tired. Clear what has been clouded by fear. Let your light settle over their mind, their body, their home, and their future. Teach them how to walk in this new season with wisdom, humility, confidence, and rest. Close every door that leads back to old bondage and open every door that aligns with your will. Let them feel your nearness in a way that becomes undeniable. And let what you have begun in them continue until their life becomes living proof of your faithfulness. Amen. Receive that prayer not as a distant formality, but as a covering over your next steps. Let it settle into your breathing. Let it settle into your thoughts. Let it settle into the pace of your days. You do not need to race into what comes next. You do not need to force what heaven is already unfolding. Some things bloom best when you walk with trust instead of panic. Some doors open most clearly when you stop trying to push with fear and begin moving with steady obedience. You are being led now, not abandoned. Directed now, not forgotten. Strengthened now, not merely observed from a distance. And as this message comes to rest on your heart, stay connected to what helps nourish your spirit. Gently like this message if it spoke to you. Share it with someone who may need this same confirmation. And subscribe if you want to continue walking in messages like this. And for those who feel led to support this work, there is also a way to donate in the description. Every act of support helps this light reach farther than one voice alone could reach. Now hear the final truth clearly. The darkness is over, but your story is not. In many ways, it is only now opening into the fullness of what it was meant to become. You have crossed through grief, pressure, confusion, and hidden warfare, and you are emerging with more than survival. You are emerging with oil. You are emerging with sight. You are emerging with a deeper knowing of God and a deeper knowing of who you are in Him. That is why the future does not need to frighten you. You are not walking toward it empty-handed. You are carrying lessons, strength, discernment, and grace that the night itself helped reveal. What comes next will not erase what happened, but it will redeem it. and that redemption will shine through your life in ways you cannot fully measure yet. So take one more slow breath and let your heart come fully into agreement with what heaven has spoken over you. You are still here for a reason. You are still standing by grace. You are still chosen, still covered, still called, and still moving toward a future that has not been canceled by what you endured. The night was real, but it was not final. The pressure was real, but it was not greater than God's hand. The pain was real, but it did not have permission to write the ending of your story. From this point on, let peace become familiar. Let hope become natural again. Let obedience become your rhythm. Let joy return without guilt. And when you remember what you have come through, do not only remember the wounds, remember the keeping. Remember the mercy. Remember the strength that carried you when your own strength was gone. This is your new ground now. Walk it with confidence. Walk it with reverence. Walk it knowing that the same God who brought you through the darkness will also teach you how to flourish in the light.